What would you do if your money disappeared tomorrow? Not stolen, not hacked, just gone. You wake up, check your phone. Your banking app won't load. You refresh, nothing. You try logging in on your laptop, error message. You tell yourself, it's just a glitch. These things happen, right? But then you see the news notification. Banks closed until further notice. Your heart drops. You rush to the ATM. There's already a line, 20 people deep. Someone's yelling. The screen on the machine is black except for 3 words, out of service. You drive to your bank branch. The doors are locked. There's a printed sign taped to the glass. Temporarily closed, emergency maintenance. No date, no explanation, just closed. You head to the grocery store. You need food. You fill your cart, go to pay, and the cashier says, cash only. You don't have cash. You haven't carried cash in years. Everything's on your card. Everything's in your account. Except now, you can't reach it. Your rent is due in 3 days. Your car payment, your credit card bill. You have the money. It's sitting there in your account. You can see the balance when you call the automated line, but you can't touch it. And then the terrible realization hits you. That money was never really yours. It was always just numbers on a screen, and someone just turned the screen off. This isn't a movie plot. This isn't some dystopian fantasy. This has happened before. It has happened to millions of people in modern countries just like yours. Countries that thought they were safe. Countries that believed their banks were solid. Countries where people went to bed middle class and woke up broke. And it could happen again. Tomorrow, to you. Let me show you how. December 2001, Argentina. Maria was a school teacher in Buenos Aires. She'd been saving for 15 years. Every month, a little bit from her paycheck went into her account. She had almost $30,000 saved. In a country where teachers barely scraped by, that was everything. That was her retirement, her security, her future. One morning, she went to the bank to withdraw money for Christmas gifts. The doors were chained shut. The government had declared a temporary freeze on bank withdrawals. They called it the Corralito, the little fence, a cute name for a catastrophe. Maria could only take out 250 pesos a week, about $80. And that was only if the ATM actually had cash, which most didn't. But it got worse. The government announced that all dollar accounts would be converted to pesos overnight, by force, at a rate the government decided. Maria's $30,000 became 30,000 pesos. Then the peso collapsed. Within months, her life savings was worth less than $12,000. She lost 60% of her money. Money she'd earned, money she'd saved, money that was supposed to be protected in a bank. The streets erupted. People banged pots and pans. They smashed windows. They screamed at politicians. But their money was gone, and it never came back. This wasn't some corrupt backwater. This was Argentina, a developed nation, a country with universities, hospitals, and a functioning government. And the banks just took people's money. Now, you might be thinking, that's Argentina. That would never happen here. Let me show you somewhere closer to home. March 2013, Cyprus. A small island nation in the Mediterranean, part of the European Union, part of the Eurozone, modern, stable, safe, or so everyone thought. Cyprus had a banking crisis. The banks had made bad investments. They were bleeding money. And the European Union demanded a bailout. But there was a condition. The people of Cyprus had to pay for it. One morning, without warning, the government froze every bank account in the country. If you had more than 100,000 euros in the bank, the government took it. Just took it. They called it a bail-in, a nice way of saying legal theft. Business owners who kept their payroll in the bank couldn't pay their workers. Retirees lost their pensions. Families lost their savings. Christos owned a small restaurant. He had 150,000 euros in his business account, money to pay suppliers, employees, rent. The government seized 40% of it. He had to lay off half his staff. He couldn't pay his suppliers, so they stopped delivering food. Within 6 months, he was bankrupt. His crime? Trusting the bank. And this wasn't some third world dictatorship.
This was the European Union, the same system that includes Germany, France, and the Netherlands. If it happened in Cyprus, it can happen anywhere. But let's get even closer to home. March 6, 1933, the United States of America.
President Franklin Roosevelt had just taken office. The country was drowning in the Great Depression. People were desperate, and they were pulling their money out of banks as fast as they could. So Roosevelt did something unprecedented. He declared a national bank holiday. Every single bank in America closed, all of them. For 4 days, no one could access their money, not a dollar. Businesses couldn't make payroll. Families couldn't buy food. The entire economy froze. When the banks reopened, only the sound ones were allowed back. Thousands never opened again. And the people who had money in those banks, they lost everything. This was the United States, the richest country on earth, and it shut down every bank in the nation to stop the collapse. If it happened then, what makes you think it couldn't happen now? Here's what they don't teach you in school. Banks don't actually keep your money. When you deposit $1,000, you think it goes into a vault with your name on it. It doesn't. The bank keeps maybe $100 on hand and loans out the rest. They loan it to businesses, to home buyers, to the government. That loan becomes someone else's deposit, and then that gets loaned out again. $1,000 becomes $5,000 in the system, then $10,000. It's called fractional reserve banking. It works beautifully when everyone's calm, but the second people get nervous and start asking for their money back, the whole thing collapses, because the money isn't there. It never was. Banks run on confidence, not cash. Confidence. The moment that confidence breaks, you get a bank run. And once a bank run starts, even healthy banks can die, because they don't have enough physical money to give everyone at once. That's why governments step in, not to protect you, to protect the banks. When Argentina froze accounts, it wasn't to hurt people, it was to stop the banks from collapsing completely. When Cyprus seized deposits, it was to save the banking system. When America shut down every bank, it was to prevent total chaos. The government and the banks are partners. When things go bad, they protect each other. And you're the one holding the bill. You might think, but we have deposit insurance. The FDIC protects up to $250,000. Yes, on paper. But here's the ugly truth. The FDIC doesn't have enough money to cover every account in America, not even close. The insurance fund is a tiny fraction of total deposits. The FDIC works because most people never need it. It's like a smoke alarm that only works if there's no fire. In a real crisis, if millions of people tried to claim that insurance at once, the fund would be gone in days. The insurance isn't real protection. It's a psychological trick, a promise designed to keep you calm, to keep you from panicking, to keep you from asking for your money. And as long as you don't ask, the system works. But the second you do, you find out the truth. Your money isn't where you thought it was. Let's walk through what actually happens when banks shut down. First, the ATMs go dark, no cash. Then your cards stop working, no purchases. Direct deposits freeze, no paycheck. Businesses can't pay employees, layoffs start. Suppliers demand cash up front. Shelves start to empty. Rent can't be paid. Mortgages default. Gas stations, grocery stores, pharmacies, everything goes cash only. But nobody has cash because it's all locked in the banks. In Lebanon in 2019, this exact scenario played out. The banks limited withdrawals to a few $100s a month. People couldn't buy medicine, couldn't pay for school, couldn't leave the country. Some people stormed bank branches with guns just to get their own money. In Greece in 2015, ATMs were limited to €60 a day. Families stood in line for hours in the summer heat just to get enough cash to survive. Weddings were canceled, surgeries postponed, businesses shut down, all because the banks closed. And here's the kicker. We live in an even more digital world now. Most people don't even carry wallets anymore,
Everything's on your phone. Apple Pay, Venmo, Cash App. What happens when the app doesn't open? You're not just broke, you're paralyzed. So what's the takeaway here? The financial system is not designed to protect you. It's designed to protect itself. Banks are not your friends. They're businesses. And when the pressure's on, they will sacrifice you to survive. Governments are not your saviors. They will freeze your accounts, seize your deposits, and devalue your savings if it means keeping the system alive. This isn't conspiracy theory. It's documented history. It has happened in Argentina, in Cyprus, in Greece,
in Lebanon, in the United States. And it will happen again. Not because the world is ending, but because the system is fragile. It always has been. So what do? You prepare. You diversify. You don't keep all your wealth in one bank, one currency, one country. You hold some cash. Not everything, but enough to survive a few weeks if the ATMs go dark. You invest in real assets, things that hold value when paper money doesn't. Real estate, gold, skills. You stay informed. You watch the warning signs, rising debt, bank failures, government emergency measures. And most importantly, you stop believing the illusion. Your money is not safe just because it's in a bank. It's only safe as long as the system is stable. And history shows us that stability is temporary. The screen can go dark anytime. The question is, will you be ready when it does? The banks have closed before. They will close again. The only question is whether you'll see it coming. If this opened your eyes, hit subscribe. Because the system doesn't want you to know this. But history doesn't lie. And I'll keep showing you the truth.